So that brings us to broad topics for the month. The first of which was Johnny Fairplay, which we've already done. The second which is the one I kind of dread doing, which is the Watts and Callis stuff.
Well, let's get it out of the way.
It's not even just it's bad, it's just because it veers in so many directions.
Yeah, but once we get that done, like, this is the main one, you know?
Yeah, that is most of the month. Alright, let's start with the Kid Kash side of this, which is... So, Jeff Jarrett is trying to take over TNA. Along with his pal Don Callis, who is his management consultant, Jarrett wants complete control, and he wants people to declare their loyalty to him.
This is a weird bit, because I don't feel like there's nothing that comes of it. Like, there's literally no reason for any of this. Because even in the circumstances, like, I declare my loyalty, it's like, it's half of these contracts are signed in people's blood, okay? These can't be upheld by any court of law.
Yeah, the vast majority are signed under duress. I do not think they would be upheld. I do not think they are legally viable contracts.
Also, he tries to get the same person to sign like 3 times.
Well, to be fair, that's part of the angle in that he does lose his contracts at one stage and has to get people to re-sign them.
Oh, I forgot about that.
So Jarrett wants people to sign these loyalty oaths, these loyalty pledges, so he assigns that task to Kid Kash. He wants Kid Kash to go around the entire TNA locker room and get them to sign loyalty oaths to Jeff Jarrett.
And we see it throughout. This is like one of the famous TNA show-long angles.
Yeah, and month-long angles, frankly.
Yes, consistently.
I did enjoy that Jarrett was like, and if you have any trouble, you got Abyss to back you up. And Kid Kash was like, Abyss?
He's like, yeah, Abyss. You got a problem with Abyss?
I like the way Jarrett doesn't even realize it's like, yes, he does have a problem with Abyss. It played out quite publicly.
Yeah, and brutally.
Kid Kash goes out through the show, gets people to sign. He got Sarah the Ticket Taker to sign during a 6-man tag team match. Then he comes out and he tries to bully Tiny the Bellkeeper into signing.
Poor Tiny. I love how, like, offended Mike Tenay and Don Callis. They're like, oh, not Tiny.
He tried to bully Tiny into signing, but he was cut off by Black Shirt Security's Chris Vaughn.
This is a big Chris Vaughn segment, too.
Yeah, this entire month is kind of like the first kind of push of Chris Vaughn. So they go back and forth because Kash tries to bully poor Tiny to signing. And Vaughn stops him and they start wrestling a match because Rudy Charles is like, yeah, fuck it, let's just do a match.
Yeah, because no one likes Kid Kash.
That's true. It is the consistent theme through this month that nobody likes Kid Kash. Not even the people he's teaming with like Kid Kash.
They tolerate him.
They do. They put up with Kid Kash. So we have a match between Kid Kash and Chris Vaughn. They have a better match the next week, but this is pretty fine. It's mostly just so Vaughn can get a little win over Kid Kash.
I was watching this and it was further like me going, how do they fuck up this Chris Vaughn guy? Like, the crowd's into this. They want this to be like the homegrown guy. I don't understand what happens.
I did quite enjoy Kid Kash referring to Chris Vaughn, who is taller than him, as Little Man.
Yeah.
It's like, listen here, little man, you should sign the contract. But yeah, they have a better match. I think the next match they have is, I think, actually a good match as opposed to this, which is more the storytelling thing that I quite enjoyed because Chris Vaughn won via interference. Rudy Charles put his hands over his eyes as Don Harris ran out to interfere.
Yeah, it was really good stuff.
He didn't even do I am suddenly distracted. He literally rose his hands over his eyes.
And then peeked over multiple times to see it happening.
Yeah, because he wants the satisfaction of Don Harris beating up Kid Kash, but he does not want to be accountable for it.
Mm.
So Chris Vaughn beat Kid Kash.
Yeah, and it felt like woo, Chris Vaughn. Let's see what they do with it.
And what they did with it was another match the next week.
The TNA special. So
Kash continues trying to get people to sign. Eventually comes out once again trying to bully Tiny into signing.
Yeah. Which is a reoccurring theme here. But Vaughn cuts him off again, and they have an actual proper real match. And this is where you saw the Vaughn fire, and he fired up. They had a proper match this time. Yeah, they did some cool stuff here. And of course, a ton of giant moves here. You obviously gift the top rope body slam, which was crazy looking, insane. But my favorite part of this whole thing was we got this is the most I'm gonna sign your loyalty pledge in blood that we saw, and it was great. Because Chris Vaughn was actually busted open during the match, and I was like, this is a weird match for Chris Vaughn to be busted open in. But then when he tried to sign the pledge in blood, I was like, that's why he was busted open during the match. Big tiny run in. Yeah, but as you mentioned, that top rope body slam, because Ethan Page does a version of that, but he doesn't go down with the wrestler. He body slams him from the top down to the mat. Which is probably smart, to be fair, because that seems like a really easy way to twist an ankle or something. Yeah, it seems like a much safer way to do it. But Kid Kash, stood up top, body slammed Chris Vaughn and went down with him, like a full proper body slam from the top rope to the mat. It looked sick, and then he hit him with the moneymaker and pinned him immediately after.
It was a real awkward looking moneymaker too.
Just killing guys. He's just killing guys left, right, and center.
Yeah, Kid Kash kind of rocks. I'm so glad that he's stuck around way longer than I thought he was going to.
And like, honestly, 2004 might be his best year because he does go into some stuff with AJ. So like, you have that to look forward to in 2004. And he's just a good mid-card heel. He's never a guy, like, I would not for a second look at this match and be like, or at Kid Kash in general, be like, he should be world champion in this company, because he probably shouldn't be. But as a dude who's mid-card heel, gets heat, like, this is basically the Jon Moxley against Wheeler Yuta of TNA, if you think about it. It actually kind of is, in terms of the guy bleeding, underdog. I guess Kid Kash is more of a heel than Jon Moxley.
I think Kid Kash is slightly more of a heel than Jon Moxley.
Yeah, he's just the mid-card super heel. That's who Kid Kash is, and he fulfills this role so well.
He's a good mix of worker and character guy, so yeah, and he's diverse. You can put him in whatever, really.
So we had a parade of run-ins afterward. Tiny stopped Kid Kash. Well, actually, no, Kid Kash did sign the contract in blood, but then Tiny made the save. Then Kash turned it around. Then Dot Harris made the save. Then the red shirts came out. And then AMW ultimately made the save to end the segment.
What is this, an AEW Dynamite?
It's just run-ins and saves and run-ins and saves. Again, AEW is just ROH, WCW, and TNA put together. So this is the run-ins and saves is the TNA influence. There's a bunch more. Kid Kash tries to get people to sign. I don't think there's much in the January 21st show. Then he's trying to get Siaki as the main guy he's trying to sign. They go to a bathroom where Siaki's taking a dump.
Yeah, this is like the second time he goes for Siaki. The first time he goes and Trinity's like, I think you should sign.
Yeah, so Trinity is very pro signing and aligning with Jeff Jarrett, even though she does, in the fairness, in the interest of continuity in the NWA-TNA, still hate Kid Kash.
Yeah, like a lot. Does she sign the first time that he tries?
No, she signs in the bathroom one.
Yes, okay. And then and then Siaki's like, what's happening out there?
Yeah, and he's like, he signed the contract. Siaki's like, hell no. Someone has told me not to. So someone is in Siaki's ear, apparently. Who it is, we're left to wonder.
I'm hoping it's Desire.
So and then he leaves, and Kid Kash is like, hey, Trinity, you want to sign? Trinity's like, yeah, do you have a pen? And the pen is in the bathroom stall. And Trinity's grossed out, and she signs and leaves.
And then like Kash just like walks into the bathroom afterwards.
Then we cut to a pre-tape immediately after that, which is basically the same thing, where it's just like, hey, Siaki, sign. No. Trinity, I've signed. And then leaves again.
Yeah.
So then last show of the month, they do it again. Trinity's being interviewed by Hudson. Trinity is the one who will be handcuffed to Siaki in the main event. We'll talk about that in a second when we get to the actual Callis and Watts stuff. So Trinity's like, I've signed, but Siaki hasn't. Siaki looks to confront her, but Kash jumps from behind, handcuffs him to a locker, I guess. I think it's a locker. And leaves him there for dead. As Trinity turns down yet another Kid Kash advance.
I like that Kid Kash is like a simp for her now. Like, he was a dude who was kicking the shit out of her for like 3 months, and now he's like, oh, please notice me, Trinity.
Yeah, literally every one of these segments ends with Kid Kash being like, hey, you and me, and Trinity's like, fuck no.
He's like, never.
I do enjoy that. Like, again, Kid Kash being like a horrible, abusive man, not very interesting, but him being, again, a mid-card comedy goof, pretty good.
Okay, I think we can, like, firmly, this is TNA's wheelhouse, right? Mid-card comedy goof, and just comedy goof in general, like, that's what they do best. Even at this point, because I think that's something that becomes more prevalent later, and that's, like, but this is, you've seen it from here, like, all the best stuff that TNA does is their comedy goof stuff. Even, like, one of the big 3 lines of this month is Jarrett talking to his lawyers, which is mid-card comedy goof shit, but it's great. It's the best, it's the most likable Jarrett's been the entire time.
Yeah, because he's talking to Tom Stenenbaum from Stenenbaum.
There's Isaac and Tom Sr.?
Is there 2 different Toms? There is a Tom Sr., of course. I think he only talks to Tom Sr. I don't think he ever talks to Tom Jr.
I thought he talks to Tom Jr. on the last day. Because he's like, are you sure you're related or something?
No, it's Isaac. He's like, are you sure you're in the Stenenbaum family? He's like, yeah. Even though Isaac sounds exactly like Tom Sr. did.
And you have the receptionist.
He was my favorite character in TNA history at this stage.
Would you want the great line of like, he rings up and goes, he goes, it's the greatest NWA champion ever, and she just goes with,
I'm sorry, who?
Jeff Jarrett.
I'm like, oh,
I remember about that as Kid Kash like nodding along, and then when she's like, who would that be? Kid Kash was like, huh?
And then the next week, literally, he calls again and he's like, it's Jeff Jarrett, tell Tom's here. And she's like, who?
So something along the lines of like, and who's that dumb broad that you have running the thing? He's like, that's my daughter. And lovely woman, lovely girl.
And we hit on this when we covered Ring Cat King as well, which you can hear on Patreon, where like the reoccurring through line of that is like Jarrett goofball good, rest of the show kind of bad.
Yeah. Jarrett's a great goofball heel.
Yeah, he should write himself to do more comedy.
TNA comedy stuff, good.
So yeah, those are most of the pledges that Kash is trying to get people to sign. We had the debut of the masked El Leon, which happened in the first segment of the month. So Jeff Jarrett comes out at the start of the month. Mike Tenay's like, we're kicking off the show with some action in the X Division, even though Jeff Jarrett's music is playing the entire time.
That's what I expect from the X Division, though, to be fair.
Also, what happened to that X Division match? There was no other X Division matches on that show other than Ultimate X. So what happened there, Mike? Was Ultimate X meant to open the show?
Maybe.
Or just got cancelled by Jeff Jarrett's promo?
Or maybe Mike had just crossed his wires. You get it? Because Ultimate X is literally cross wires.
Good one.
Thank you. I was really proud of myself, and you tore me down.
Tore you down like a belt being torn down from Ultimate X, though very difficultly by Chris Sabin. We'll talk about that later.
I felt bad for that dude, man.
So we started 2004 as we ended 2003 with a very long Jeff Jarrett promo.
As we will be experiencing for the next 6 years.
So he comes out and he talks about how his interaction with Toby Keith made CMT's biggest 40 country music moments, even though that was him getting suplexed and thrown out of a battle royal.
That's fine.
Again, a nice little part of the Jarrett lore that he's like bragging about something that was actually him getting his ass kicked.
See, Jarrett's good when he's like he's playing that kind of heelish, delusional guy, more than when he's like, I'm a big badass.
This was the first show that had the Juggalos in the crowd, not the ICP fans.
Thank you.
So the Juggalos are in the crowd. They chanted, "You suck dick at 'em," which is bleeped on the Impact Plus version.
You suck beep. There's a lot of bleeping.
There's a lot of bleeping this month.
Real bleep heavy this month of NWA-TNA.
Much of it for BG
Hey,
James.
Russo's back.
It's just all the slurs come back.
Is this Jarrett in his nice suit too? His completely non-tailored suit.
Yeah, so he's bragging about how the fact that, you know, because he took out Raven, he took out AJ Styles and D'Lo out of the number one contendership picture, he was meant to defend the belt this month, but he's not going to, or this week, because he actually doesn't defend the belt this month at all, so really he gets away with a lot of things. He took out all the number one contenders, so he does not have to make any title defenses. He's very proud of himself. The announcement this week will be the announcement of Mr. TNA. It's come down to AJ and Jeff Jarrett, which we disagree with in our 2003 TNA awards, by the way, Liam.
No, definitely not. AJ made your list. I don't think he made mine.
Yeah, you didn't even put AJ top 3.
No, AJ didn't make it for me.
And Jarrett made neither of our lists.
I'm surprised about that one.
So Erik Watts comes out, and the big development here, for reasons they don't really explain it, but they say that they've discovered that the NWA-TNA board is dirty, but Erik Watts isn't. But they want Watts to step down so that he doesn't get dragged down through guilt by association with the board, I think is the angle here.
I think the idea here is like, you step down now and save yourself the embarrassment of being caught up in what we're going to do to them. And Watts is like, no.
Yeah.
I will take the chance rather than the immediate failure.
So Watts declines their offer to resign. He calls Kash short, which...
Owned.
Again, fun ties into then Kid Kash calling somebody else short later in the show. It's Kid Kash being like, no, I'm not short.
Don Cal ass.
He does love his Don Cal ass and Jeff the Jack
I'm not the ICP. I'm not gonna do it.
ass. Jarrett, his favorite word is ass, whether he says it or not. So he says Jarrett will lose the belt this year, which optimistic.
Also, like, you know, I'd hope.
You would hope that he does not hold the belt for the entirety of the 12 months.
Garrett, he does not hold the belt for all of 2004.
No, he only holds it for 10 of the 12 months of 2004. Before a large man appears, attacks Jeff Jarrett. Jarrett bails. The large man is wearing a mask. It's a mystery. You couldn't possibly say who it is, Liam.
I think it's Vader.
Oh, it is Vader. Yeah, it is. Makes sense. Got himself in great shape, to be fair to him.
Yeah. Nice tattoo that he's got in his arm.
The masked man is El Leon. Maybe if you watch very closely, you might realize it's Apollo, or you might watch not very closely at all. You'll still realize it's Apollo.
But if you weren't paying that much attention, you will know by that stellar super kick.
Yeah, his big sidekick and his big red boots. His big red boots are always the tell.
He kept the boots. I don't know why we're still trying to make Apollo a thing.
Listen, they just struck the deal with IWA in Puerto Rico, and of
fair
those
enough.
talents, it's Apollo, so they brought him back.
That's fair enough, I guess.
So later in the show, Mike Tenay standing in the ring with Goldilocks and Erik Watts to announce who will win Mr. TNA.
Ooh.
Mike Tenay pulls out the envelope. Well, I think it's handed to him by Goldilocks. He pulls out the piece of paper. He makes a sad face. He's all disappointed.
My heart dropped. I was like, oh no, they're not actually gonna do it, are they? I was hooked, line, and sinker, baby.
Mike Tenay's facial expressions won you over.
No, it was Erik Watts.
Oh, Watts is the guy. Typical.
Yeah.
And then you didn't even draft him.
Neither did you.
Well, he's not my guy, though.
You didn't draft Mike Tenay, did you?
Mike Tenay's not an eligible option.
You didn't draft Chris Sabin.
It's because you stole him from me like a mean man.
You had plenty of opportunity to draft him.
Well, I won, so suck it.
Yeah, well, I get the first round draft pick in 2004.
So Mike Tenay reveals, a lot of good that did you this year, that the winner of Mr. TNA for 2003 is the phenomenal AJ Styles. Jeff Jarrett is furious. He's very mad. Styles comes out. He's presented by a trophy. Don West chants AJ's name because he's very wholesome.
My favorite part of that was when they were doing like these two cuts to them backstage, like as if they were at the Oscars on the tables, and all of Jarrett was like in his like little space, but then AJ was right next to the ramp. So it's like, well, one guy's winning here.
So AJ comes out, he does a promo, it's pretty bland. He's like, oh, it means a lot to me because it was you, the fans, that voted for it. It's like, okay.
Do you think he still has this trophy?
I assume he does. The Mr. TNA 2003 trophy sitting on his shelf next to
I
his WWE
legitimately
World title.
thought of this while I was watching it. I was like, does he have it like in his video game room?
We should look, because he does stream on Twitch, but I've never actually watched him.
Does AJ strike you as like I have the replicas of all my belts guy?
Yes.
You think he's got like an IWGP replica up there?
And then an X Division title and the NWA title.
If anyone's gonna do it, like, you might as well be AJ Styles doing it, because you have WWE up there, you have NWA, IWGP, TNA. Like, that's a solid arrangement of titles to have on your wall.
He's won a couple belts in Ring of Honor too, hasn't he?
You never like the main one though. He had the pure title, so I guess you put
Yeah.
that up there. But you know what I mean? It's like, if there's anyone who's allowed to do it, I think, and get the replicas and put them on their wall.
It's the dude that's won belts literally everywhere.
And not just one belt, the main belt. Like, how many other people can put those 4 belts on their wall?
So, by the way, you questioned me.
I often do.
Our 2003 TNA awards. I gave top babyface Mike Tenay gimmick of the year, and you were like, oh, that's stupid. What happened here in January, Liam?
First of all, it's still stupid. And second of all, I don't remember saying that.
You were like, oh, you chuckled at me. You scoffed. You scoffed at the idea of top babyface Mike Tenay. And here he is, top babyface Mike Tenay all over January 2004.
I don't know. I think he's fine, sure.
So Mike Tenay cuts a promo about AJ being great and then proposes a match between Jarrett and Styles for both the Mr. TNA title and the NWA title. Jarrett does not like this. He proposes an alternative match, which is Styles and Watts against Jarrett and Abyss, where if AJ wins, he gets a title shot, and if Jarrett wins, Watts is out of the Director of Authority job.
Is this the first TNA title match?
Well, it didn't happen, but it would have been, I guess.
The Mr. TNA title match.
It was for the Mr. TNA title. That's the reason Jarrett didn't want it to happen. It's like, I respect the NWA too much to do a Mr. TNA title match.
The Mr. TNA title was the belt.
Mm.
And not even like the sharp belt. It's like the 2015 belt.
I don't like that belt.
It's the Jeff Hardy belt.
After Jarrett proposed that Watts and Styles against Jarrett and Abyss match, Watts was like, oh, I don't know. But then Goldilocks accepted on his behalf.
Oh, Goldilocks.
They did show it. We mentioned it at the end of the December episode.
Okay, new contender for creepiest TNA segment ever.
So at the start of this month, they showed the segment that aired on one of the best ofs, which was Don Callis approaching Goldilocks at the TNA Christmas party, which was...
It was so gross.
He's like, hey, Goldilocks.
Yeah, I think he's like, I want to eat you on my table. He's like... you want real money? And then the worst part is like, he's this creep, he's grinding on her, he's trying to dance with her, and she's saying no, and he's like, yeah, the terrible line of, I want to eat you on my table. And then He's like, oh, and Erik Watts has no money. If you want the money, you go in there. And then she looks dead in the camera and is like, how much money? And then boom, hard cut. Cinema.
Oh, that's art, baby.
Oh, I hate this segment. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it when I watched it. I hate it now thinking about it.
So yes, Goldilocks accepts on behalf of Erik Watts, and we are perhaps led to believe maybe that she's not acting in his best interests anymore.
I don't think that's true.
Goldilocks is still just the best pal of Erik Watts. Maybe in some ways she is acting in his best interest by removing him from power.
Yeah, because he's not very good at it.
NWA-TNA pay-per-view number 77, January 14th, 2004. El Leon opens the show attacking Jeff Jarrett. They try to unmask him, but he escapes.
You should call me El Liam.
El Liam, the Liam.
Yes, that's what they call me.
Not the mouth man, Liam Jones.
I don't want to be known as the mouth man. I'm only the mouth man in some circles.
So Leon is still trying to attack Jarrett. So that leaves us to our main event, which is Erik Watts and AJ Styles against Jeff Jarrett and Abyss.
I forgot about this match.
If Styles and Watts win, Styles gets his title shot. If Jarrett and Abyss win, Watts is out of power. So they did a finish where Jarrett hit Watts with a belt, pinned him. Everyone was like, oh no. But then Mike Tenay jumps up from the announce desk, grabs a microphone. He's like, Rudy, he hit him with the belt. He hit him with the belt, Rudy.
Heelish activities. The ref's decision is final. Mike Tenay should respect that.
Which it's very funny because Rudy restarts the match. Then El Leon comes out and starts attacking Jeff Jarrett, which for some reason is not a DQ. And Mike Tenay has no problem with this.
Yeah, it's because Mike Tenay is biased.
So earlier in the show, there was an interview with Goldilocks and Erik Watts where Erik Watts was like, Goldie, I need you to stay in the back. I need you to stay out of danger.
I can't be focusing on you and focusing on keeping my job.
And Goldie was very jilted by this. She thought Watts was trying to break up with her, and she was like, I will not be ignored.
Yeah, this was an insane jumping of logic from Goldilocks here. Stay in the back. I don't want you to get hurt. You want to break up with me?
To be fair, I also think it's a stretch of logic that is consistent with the Goldilocks character.
Oh, she's insane. But they both are.
So yeah, El Leon brawls with Jarrett, which again, not a DQ. Goldilocks comes out, shouts at Erik Watts, teases turning on him, but low blows Abyss instead. Styles rolls up Abyss, and that allows Styles and Watts the win, which means Styles should get a title shot.
I gotta admit, I'm hooked on the Goldie stuff. Every time she came out there, I was like, oh, is she gonna do it? Oh, don't do it. Oh, and then she didn't do it, and I was like, oh, wow. What the swerve was, there was no swerve.
You're captivated by the character that is Goldilocks.
I gotta admit, they got me on this one.
By the way, I think this is only, we've been building, technically for a year now, to the idea of Erik Watts and Jeff Jarrett wrestling.
Yeah.
I think this is the only time they actually do it.
And it's in a completely different context.
Yeah. So, Mike Tenay, I don't know why he's okay with the fact that El Leon attacked Jarrett and Goldilocks low-blowed the dude. Why didn't he want to restart the match again? I'm thinking there's some bias here from Mike Tenay.
He's a bad guy.
Callis says he'll quit TNA forever if Watts is left in charge, to which I think everyone would be like, fine. Even Mike Tenay is like, fine, yes, good.
Yeah.
But for some reason, Watts also says he'll quit TNA forever if Styles doesn't get his title shot, even though Styles just won his title shot, so... Watts, that's...
The idea here was if they reverse the decision, I thought. But then it's you would lose your position anyway. So he's correct. If AJ Styles doesn't get his title shot, I will be fired. It's not him standing up for AJ Styles. It's just stating a fact.
Yes, it's not an ultimatum. It's just the fact that if they reverse that decision, they are overruling you and thus rendering you powerless.
Yeah, but it was just his you're going to try and fuck AJ out of this shot. I'm going to do the best I can to stop it.
So after both men issued the ultimatum, Watts is like, no, give him the title shot. Callis is like, no, Watts can't stay. TNA management ran a Star Wars scroll at the start of the next show.
You should have got it and you should have read the whole thing.
It was an open letter from TNA management saying, basically, if Callis and Watts can't coexist, they will face next week in a loser must resign, no DQ, falls count anywhere match.
This is not fair.
Why not?
This feels like an abuse of power. There's a reason Don Callis wasn't excited for this matchup.
Don Callis is a wrestler.
Still.
It's not like he's an untrained... And it's not like Watts is a good wrestler either, so it's...
I bet his win rate is remarkable at this point.
TNA management state that because the match is so important, Liam, it's so, tippy-top important, everybody will be allowed ringside.
That's a terrible decision.
It's really bad. But, in order to mitigate potential interference... everybody will be handcuffed in pairs at ringside.
This is insane. This is... Who? What?
I like the way that really canonically, everybody in this company is insane.
Yeah.
Like, Watts is insane, Callis is insane, Jarrett's insane, even Mike TNA is going insane. Like, this show opens with Don being like, Mike, you're going too far out there. There's too much. You can't be doing this.
Yeah, it's, you can't get so involved.
You were restarting matches, you're feuding with the world champion, you just can't do this anymore.
Tonight's like, my job's on the line, your job's on the line. You're like, damn, alright, Mike.
There's too much at stake, Don, to let it go like this.
Hell of a promo on this guy.
Mike TNA is a great promo. Like, every time they actually like call on him to do a proper promo, he's really goddamn good.
100%.
Callis, Watts, main event of the last show of the month. Loser must resign from Power, not TNA forever. They don't have to leave forever. It's just they won't have any more power.
Loser must resign from appearing on this podcast.
We could never mention the name Erik Watts again if he loses to Don Callis. Watts opens the show, then he comes out, he talks about his match with Callis. He says he will beat him and remain DOA next week, but that's not why he's out here. He's out here to announce Team TNA in the America's X Cup, which will be led by the returning captain, Jerry Lynn.
Jerry Lynn, with a great look.
He's the evil Jerry Lynn goatee is gone.
And the long sleeve is on, but it's tucked in, baby.
Do you think, like, because TNA got increasingly bad while Jerry Lynn was gone, do you think Jerry Lynn is the secret sauce?
Mm-hmm.
And now that Jerry Lynn's back, the show's good again?
Probably. I mean, who else went away and came back in the same time period?
I don't know. Shark Boy hasn't been around a lot, but he was here this month.
Vince Russo, motherfucker.
Juventud Guerrera? He's another guy that was gone for a while but came back.
Juven Russo.
So Lynn comes out, he said, oh no, he's gone for 5 months. He's like, I'm sick of being gone. He's been gone since, I think, August. This big gap for poor Jerry Lynn. He says that everything that happened is water under the bridge.
He's very forgiving.
It is quite forgiving, especially given he was both behind the scenes and in front of the camera, dumped out in unceremonious circumstances. But nonetheless, he is back. So Kid Kash does come out and make that point. He was like, hey, they treated you like shit. You were really good, and you made the X Division. You made AJ Styles. You're a pillar of this company, and they treated you like garbage. You should sign the loyalty oath and join Jeff Jarrett. Then Jerry Lynn hits him with the clipboard. He's the second person, because Chris Vaughn hits him with the clipboard at various stages this month too. He keeps getting hit with this clipboard.
Chekhov's clipboard.
If it's there, somebody has to hit you with it.
Of course.
So Jerry Lynn declines the offer to join Jarrett and company.
I wish that became a thing, like, that was just associated with Kid Kash from this point forward for the rest of his career. He was just the guy with the clipboard.
It's just the Rottweilers? Was that the name of that team? No. The Pitbulls. That's the name of that team.
Yes.
Different dog.
No, the Rottweilers versus the Pitbulls seems like a great WrestleMania weekend match.
Yeah, someone should book that at WrestleCon. But yeah, just walking out with Jamie Noble carrying with a clipboard. No one explains it. He just has the clipboard with him.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Returns in 2011 TNA. It's just like, hey, look at my clipboard.
100%.
So this is the show where Johnny Fairplay was also introduced. Our main event, Jeff Jarrett faces El Leon in a street fight that, of course, because it's TNA, ends in a no contest.
As street fights are wont to do.
So Mike TNA pushes Jeff Jarrett into the rail when they were brawling on the floor. Then Jarrett pushed them back and they had a stare down. Top babyface Mike TNA.
Well, step in the ring, Mike.
So after a few weeks of the ICP fans, or Juggalos if you prefer, being in the crowd for weeks, honestly, they annoyed me when they were just in the crowd by themselves. Because I'm okay with you, like, doing your ICP chants, like, when it doesn't matter. But there's periods where, like, baby faces are making a big comeback, and they start chanting ICP. And I'm like, shut the fuck up, stop getting yourselves over, you nerds.
I was like, come on, heel section.
Yeah, fight back.
I wonder if TNA Chad would have been a juggler.
Chad should have returned to take down the Juggalos, because apparently there was a few, like, Juggalo-related fights in the crowd.
That comes with the Juggalo turf.
Yep, sure does. And to be fair, they probably did, like, up the energy levels overall.
Yes.
So they in the crowd are a net good, even if they do annoy me every so often.
And to be fair, the Juggalos are probably fighting themselves as much as they're fighting anyone else.
Chad would have taken them all down, though. Chad is too powerful for the Juggalos.
That's why he had to return to his home planet.
He would have brought a single sign that would have cut them so emotionally that they would have just left. He wouldn't even have to do a fight.
Yeah.
He's just like, teenage Chad greater than Juggalos, and Juggalos are like, he's right.
And he would have stolen their women.
Oh, Chad. We miss you, Chad.
Still, please, get in contact with us.
Your legacy lives on at tnachat.com.
And no, we will not pay you any royalties.
So our main event, Jarrett and Leon in a street fight. I mentioned the ICP because this is where they actually got involved for the first time. They did have Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope in the crowd. They threw some fuego at Jeff Jarrett, got in his face. I don't know what fuego is, but it's soda pop apparently.
Here, I'm gonna go grab some.
You have fuego with you?
Give me a second.
And Liam denied me calling him a juggalo earlier. He's a juggalo. He's a big ICP fan, and there's nothing wrong. This should embrace his juggalo nature. Fago. We don't have Fago here. So, I don't know. I've never consumed it. Maybe we do and I haven't found it. I'm not sure.
I have returned.
With your Fago?
Yes, so my mate, he collects different like celebrity foods and drinks and such.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have a Fago container here.
Is there Fago in the Fago container?
There is no Fago in the Fago container.
Oh, unlike the pizza, I was going to allow you to taste test the Fuego on the podcast.
We have a delicious cotton candy flavored Fago.
Oh.
Would you like to know any details about the Fago?
Please read the description of the Fago.
Not much to describe. It's a 23 ounce. We're in ounces.
It's a lot of Fago.
Calories 260
per serving.
Per bottle, because serving size is one bottle.
Yeah.
A lot of sugar. Includes 66 grams of added sugars, 132%.
Ooh, that's a lot of sugar.
Not a significant source of saturated fat, trans fat, cholesterol, dietary fiber, vitamin D, calcium, and iron. Carbonated water, high fructose corn syrup, potassium, benzoate, citric acid, artificial flavor, sucralose, and Blue One. Distributed by Fago Beverages, Incorporated, Detroit, Michigan.
Wonder how Blue 1 is different from Blue 2 or 3.
I'll put the Fago here to inspire the upcoming ICP chat.
You say you're not a juggalo, and there you are with a carton of Fuego next to you.
It's not a carton.
You and Fago del Sol.
Whoop whoop.
Oh. I'm sorry, they've been ruined forever, even in the context.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't mind the juggalos.
No, the whoop whoops, but sure.
Oh no. I don't know, like, if the Whoop Whoop wants to be more closely associated with Marty Scurll or with the Juggalos.
I'm sorry, it's just gone. It cannot be redeemed.
Yeah, every time they do the Whoop Whoop chant for someone, I kind of like go,
Yeah, and like it happens quite a lot these days. There was a bunch over WrestleMania weekend. There was a couple on Dynamite this week. I don't know why.
There was some for Keith Lee too.
It's like, no, stop it.
Whenever they do like the Too Sweet, they always throw in a whoop whoop, and I'm like, yeah, someone needs to reclaim the whoop whoop.
Mike Tenay interferes in this again. Jeff Jarrett wants to hit him with the guitar, but he pulls the guitar out of his hands, which allows Leon to get a near fall. Mike Tenay is like, count. Jarrett kicks out. Jarrett hits Leon with the guitar, goes for an unmasking motion. AJ makes the save, and then the match is declared a no contest. Again, despite being in a street fight, Mike Tenay interfering is fine, but AJ Styles is the step too far.
Yep. Well, he's clearly going to influence the match too much. It was getting out of hand.
Then Abyss stops AJ, hits him with a shock treatment, picks him up, press slams him from the ring, through a table, on the floor. AJ's dead as we go off the air.
Shades of Brian Urlacher.
It is. It's basically the same thing that happens the next week. Maybe Urlacher was watching his week before TNA tape being like, what can I do?
I don't think Brian Urlacher knows who Abyss is.
He should.
Should have recruited him.
Should have done a match between Abyss and Brian Urlacher.
If only they could have come up with the $57 million to put up.
So NWA-TNA pay-per-view numbers totally drive TNA bankrupt. 79, January 28th, 2004. A show opens with Erik Watts arriving with Brian Urlacher, coming, being pals. You were like, who's that guy?
Yeah. I was like, man, he's big. He should be a wrestler.
And the opening match, Abyss faces D'Lo Brown. D'Lo out for revenge after Abyss killed AJ the week before, but then he loses and gets killed too.
I appreciate them adding that little element at least.
Yeah, that they're still teams and pals, and even D'Lo does a little, it's like an inset promo being like, listen, this industry is built on respect, and I respect AJ, and you can't do that to my friend, so I'll fight you.
This industry is built on honor.
Abyss beats D'Lo, pushes Rudy into the ropes, hits a black hole slam, chokeslams D'Lo through a table. D'Lo is stretchered out.
D'Lo, firmly just a guy now.
Yeah, it's actually sad, because he does have a match with Siaki earlier in the month that he wins, so he's not like winless this month. He does at least pick up one win against Siaki.
But he's a mid-card dude now.
Yeah, and he's beaten Siaki plenty of times before. That's a callback to a feud they had in 2003. Like, he's just...
he's just the guy again. And like, to be fair, he came back and he was still just the guy. You know, they tried to make a deal about him coming back, and then he started losing immediately again. He lost the match to Diamond and Swinger with AJ, and now he's just...
Well, it's not his fault.
No, it's not, because he's just... Well, maybe it is, because he's working too much All Japan, and they don't want to book him around the All Japan.
Pay him more. Like, Jesus Christ.
Because they do mention that he was literally off the plane from an All Japan show for this match against the Abyss.
Yeah. Gotta do what you gotta do.
But it is a bummer. Again, when you think about how he came in, and we didn't mention it, I don't think. We didn't mention D'Lo and biggest disappointments in our 2003 interview awards on Patreon. But D'Lo's probably up there as one of the bigger disappointments in 2003.
Yeah.
That he came in as this guy with a bunch of momentum, seemed like a big star, cut a great promo, looked great, worked great. Everything about what, like, it's not like D'Lo let his side of the bargain down. D'Lo was great in pretty much everything they asked him to do. And then they just booked him as a nerd who lost all the time.
It's unfortunate, because it did feel like they had a thing with him for a minute.
So D'Lo was taken out, and we mentioned that Siaki was taken out by being handcuffed to the locker. That's important for the main event as well. Which brings us to our main event. Don Callis versus Erik Watts for control of the NWA-TNA.
In a pretty great match!
One of Liam's favourite matches in TNA history. A 4 1/4 star match, according to Liam Jones.
Okay, so there's a few things I feel like we need to establish about me as a pro wrestling viewer, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
I am notoriously someone who enjoys interference when I feel it's done right.
Mm-hmm.
This match had that. Garrett, did you notice that there was some interference in this matchup?
There was a lot of it. In fact, there was pretty much 20 people at ringside constantly trying to interfere.
And it ruled! And I was buying into it, and the Goldilocks swerve got me. I enjoyed this. This was good pro wrestling. It wasn't your Okadas and your Naitos having your 4 3/4 star matches, you know?
It was better.
In its own way, yeah. It told a different kind of story. And man, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the hell out of this match. What can I say? I got into it. I like these... I'm a fan of these kind of stories. And these big, everyone involved, everyone has their own stakes, their own claims to it. And yeah, I just enjoyed it. I thought it was good fun.
So as mentioned, everybody was handcuffed to somebody at ringside. So AMW were handcuffed to the Red Shirts. Jerry Lynn was handcuffed to Kid Kash, which is honestly my favorite pairing, because Kid Kash constantly tried to like start running up the steps and run into the ring, and Jerry Lynn kept pulling him out.
Who was your, if you had to be handcuffed to one person at ringside, who would it be?
Abyss.
I was going to say Abyss too.
Just, one, he'd do a very good job keeping me from getting in the ring, but also it's
Yeah.
Abyss. Look how cool he is.
We could be handcuffed to one arm each.
And he could deal with both of us at once.
Obviously. Like a cartoon, just like smack us together.
Simon Diamond was handcuffed to David Young, Disco to Swinger, Abyss to Don Harris. Abyss was meant to be handcuffed to D'Lo, but of course D'Lo was taken out, so they substituted Don Harris. And Jarrett handcuffed Mike Tenay to the guardrail.
Well, to be fair, he's not in the wrong for doing this. Mike got incredibly involved last time.
Yeah, he did shove Jarrett a couple times. He did reverse the decision of a match. He did pull a guitar out of Jarrett's hands. He is the top babyface.
I don't know. I think he's kind of the top heel.
Oh, you've signed your Jeff Jarrett loyalty pledge, haven't you?
You know, Erik Watts lost the power. What can I say? I see where the tides go.
Jarrett was handcuffed to El Leon. So it was a big brawl around the arena. Don Callis came out wearing a fancy robe, but then was wearing the worst wrestling gear you've ever seen in your life.
Like, is this the gear he used to wear?
I have no idea.
I don't think so. I wouldn't think. He was good in this.
His robe was quite nice.
I don't even mean the role. I just meant like his performance. Like, I thought he was a really like pretty decent, technically sound wrestler out there. Did some really good like classic heel shtick.
Yeah, and he's just Don Callis.
He's just Don Callis, baby.
He is just Don Callis. So the big thing, Trinity, who again, continuity, was uncuffed. They didn't substitute Siaki. She was meant to be cuffed to Siaki during this match. They substituted Don Harris for Abyss, but they didn't substitute anybody for Trinity. That's sexism.
They should have handcuffed her to herself. So at the very least, she didn't have use of both hands.
Yeah, so she ran out, she hit Watts with a moonsault, but Watts kicked out. Then the Naturals, who appeared at ringside, who we'll talk about more when we get to the tag team division, but they're reigniting their feud with AMW. The Naturals came out, they attacked AMW. Then Goldilocks came out, and Watts powerbombed Trinity, and you thought that was the moment. Like, he had Trinity up for a powerbomb, and you're like, oh, this is the low blow, just like she did to Abyss. But she doesn't. Watts powerbombs Trinity, then Watts grabs Don Callis by the throat, lifts him up for a chokeslam, And then Goldilocks strikes.
Yeah, that's when the swerve. I thought it was a good build to the swerve too, because they're like, oh, it wasn't there. And then you thought for a second, well, maybe they're just gonna keep them like together again still, but no, they got you in the end.
Because they did do the misdirect earlier in the month where they made you think that Goldie was going to turn on him in the tag team match with Abyss, and then she turned on Abyss instead. And then I did quite like the misdirect where it's like he has Trinity up for the powerbomb, and like that's the moment he's going to turn. And no, they delayed it another moment again just to try and trick you into thinking it was another swerve. But yeah, she low blows Erik Watts. Don Callis hits Erik Watts with a championship belt, which Watts takes a flip inside out bump for.
Yeah, and it was a good bump too.
Yeah, and Callis pins Watts to gain full control of TNA.
Well, does he have full control, or does no? Sorry, I thought you meant Jarrett. I'm confused.
Callis is Jeff Jarrett's puppet, but Callis is the one that technically has power.
And money, apparently, because Goldie made the switch.
So they raise Callis above their head as Don West shouts, "You whore!" Goldilocks.
You whore.
And he's like, I call it as I see it, Mike. She's whoring herself out to Don Callis. TNA calls her a bitch.
This is your baby face, Garrett.
We go off the air with Jarrett, Callis, and company in full control of TNA for the month.
The only thing that we missed through this was the Diamond Swinger stuff.
Which, honestly, we'll leave for the tag division.
Sure.
So that is everything to do with the Callis and Watts and Jarrett stuff. It was a severe show-running angle. We probably missed a couple of pre-tapes, but they all just reinforce the same points over and over again, really.
Yeah, it is basically just the same segments over and over again.
There's many segments where Jeff Jarrett is like, "Hey, you Kid Kash, you get me those signatures." And Kid Kash is like, "Oh."
There's one that I did want to mention where they were all in the limo.
Oh, yeah.
And Kash and Abyss are both in it at the same time. And Kash is just like, And Abyss is too busy looking at the lights in the limo.
Yeah, he's fascinated. That's continuity with Abyss. He was fascinated by the lights on the stage, and now he's fascinated by the lights on the limo.
And they're all drinking champagne, except for Abyss, who's just kind of there. And that was the big reveal that they were going to go party with Johnny Fairplay.
Oh, because they announced on that show that, yeah, the Fairplay's coming.
Mm-hmm. I think that was the only acknowledgement that was actually the news.
Oh, I forgot about Fairplay's plane, by the way, which was just a regular plane with a TNA sticker on the front.
That rocks.
I'd love to see the negotiations at the airport or the airstrip or wherever they filmed that. It's like, we'd like to stick a TNA sticker on this plane. Is that okay?
And they're like, we don't care, man.
Just make sure you take it off before you leave.
I hope they didn't.
That TNA plane is still flying the airs of Nashville.
They never managed to get it off. It's stuck on there too hard.